So you've been on LinkedIn for a long time, set up your profile, like everybody says,
Yep.
haven't done anything, then decided, okay, I'm just going to jump in and I'm just going to be a participant in the conversation.
Yes.
And you start participating in the conversation and cricket, nobody cares.
Yeah, very little, not much. I was going for, let's see, I forget the exact profile view number, weekly profile views, but low, generally less than 100 for sure. And that first week, I think I had one post that eventually, like a week or so later, had something like 76,000 impressions. I was like, okay, this is different, right? Maybe 3 weeks ago on a Monday, I had 50 inbound requests that day, and about half of them were from sophisticated investors.
I noticed you're using LinkedIn as a blogging platform.
Yeah, so I've gotten involved in the startup studio community. And as I started talking to a lot of investors and just people in the startup ecosystem, the knowledge gap was just like so huge. And it's a massive problem for studios trying to raise money, to find people, to work there, to be potential founders. Okay, there's an easy way to solve this. Somebody needs to talk about it. Really, that's it.
Okay, so let's start from the beginning, because you told me you started only 8 weeks ago. I know nothing about you.
Yeah.
I found you.
No, I started August 1st.
August 1st. So we are, a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know nothing about you. I found you on a comment on Alex Hormozzi's post. I followed you there. And so I don't even know what you do. I just like look at the whole thing. So tell me what you do.
Sure. So I currently work at NCR. I'm in their innovation team there in the startup world tangentially, but I've been a startup founder before. And I've made investments in startups. I'm not active right now, so don't hit me up for that. But this has been an area that I've loved for a long time. So I got involved in the Keiretsu Forum, which is the world's largest angel investor group. And through that, got to see just tons and tons of pitches. They see 200 qualified and due diligence deals a year, which is pretty insane. I really loved being exposed to all those business models, opportunities, how people were putting this stuff together. But me, myself, I tend to like getting my hands dirty versus just investing. So the studio model overall is much more attractive and much more aligned with who I am.
So what is the studio model?
The studio model is effectively, the studio is your co-founder. It's going to bring a process on how to go from as early as no idea all the way through ready for seed or Series A.
Okay.
And it brings a team to do it and funding to do it as well. So it's like you're hiring your co-founder day one, who's done this probably a lot. So,
and so that's you're the co-founder who brings the funding and the team and all that stuff.
Right. That would be the studio. I'm not a studio. I just like talking about them.
Okay.
Maybe in the future there might be something there, but that's not the focus today.
Okay, so you talk about them and then people come to work with you to learn about them?
I'm not selling anything and I have no plans. I just noticed that there was no one really talking about this, in which I found odd in some ways, because there's lots of good reasons to talk about it. The numbers are just phenomenal.
Yeah.
There's a lot of very successful studios out there, but they are not really talking about the model or what they do very much. And so there's all this experience, there's this great stuff going on, but nobody's talking about it, so no one knows about it.
Yeah, obviously I don't know about this, and I've been around a little bit, right? Do marketing and stuff, never heard of it. So you jumped on LinkedIn in August, or?
I've started following some people and being active on the comments maybe 2 months before that. And I didn't really notice a big change. And not many people would organically try to connect with me or follow me or anything. Those are relatively rare. Yeah, you get the usual, hey, can you invest in me? Hey, do you want this job? The normal LinkedIn noise, effectively. And that didn't change much in just commenting. And you've seen a lot of my comments. I tend to write almost a post in comments half the time, but that didn't generate much. And I have been told by—
time out for a second. Yeah. So you jump on LinkedIn, set up your profile, like everybody says, right?
It's been there for a long time, but yeah, I've been on LinkedIn for a long time.
So you've been on LinkedIn for a long time, set up your profile, like everybody says,
Yep.
haven't done anything, then decided, okay, I'm just going to jump in and I'm just going to be a participant in the conversation.
Yes.
And you start participating in conversation and cricket, nobody cared.
Yeah, very little, not much. I was going for, let's see, I forget the exact profile view number, weekly profile views, but low, generally less than 100 for sure. And comments didn't seem to move the needle.
And you were not posting at all. You were just.
I was not posting at all. And I'm like, okay, I've been listening to folks like, Robbie Crabtree, Aston, Critique. I've been seeing so many people be very consistent at it. And they mentioned one guy, which was Justin Welch.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, so how does he do it? How does he set up all of his content funnel and creation so that he can keep and maintain that schedule? Because it looks from the outside just brutal.
Yeah. Well,
right?
What was his schedule? What was he doing?
He was posting, I think still is posting 3 or 5 times a day. I can't do that. There's no way. But everybody talked really highly about how he had set up his system to create these posts and have them have the right hooks, the right value adds so that they resonate with people and they land well. Okay, yeah, I can try to learn this all from scratch and replicate everything everybody's done or leverage something like that.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I looked at how he had done it. Okay, some of this is going to work for me, some of this won't. Let me adapt it to what's going to work for me and what I think the gap is and how I can fill it. So, okay, I'm gonna pre-write over a weekend 5 posts. Do 1 a day. I wasn't using any tools, so I wrote them up. I might have been using Notion at the time. I am using Notion now.
I love Notion.
It's great. Like I can capture a lot of my ideas.
Yeah.
It can be clunky and difficult to learn.
Yeah. Once you do.
Yeah. So wrote all these up, and then I would manually post them. In the morning.
Have a time, you're like, okay, every day, 8 a.m.
Before I go to work, leave 8 in the morning typically. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to put them out there around 7:30, something like that. And we'll see what happens. Yeah. And that first week, I think I had one post that eventually, like a week or so later, had something like 76,000 impressions. I was like, okay, this is different, right?
Yeah. And
like
you were not tagging, you were not like mentioning people, just putting up value.
Yeah, I put in a couple of hashtags for different, but hey, I'm going to write these. And when you're looking that early in your LinkedIn journey and you're like, you have been basically like flatlining on this growth chart, it's very stable. And then you post and it's like, eh. And of course, LinkedIn has those very convenient stats that don't necessarily provide a ton of value, but that first week you look at them like, hey, it's a like 4 million% growth. What? Okay, let's keep doing this. Let's see what happens. And the story I've been telling now is, I guess this was a post maybe 3 weeks ago on a Monday. I had 50 inbound requests that day, and about half of them were from sophisticated investors. Partners in venture firms, folks running PE firms, wealth management folks, family office folks. I'm like, okay, this is gold, yes. Right? This is the people I want to build a network with. This is fantastic. If I ever want to do more stuff in the startup world at any level, I want this network.
So wait,
the fact that they're coming to me, yes.
Okay, so this is fascinating. They were messaging you to work with you. They were messaging to connect. They were messaging to like just connect.
They were just connecting. They were following, connecting. A couple of them would reach out and be like, hey, I really love your content. I'm doing this. In DMs, I've had people say things like, hey, I'm trying to start a studio. I'm working through these things. Can we talk? Like, sure, no problem. I'm happy to help. But here's what I've learned. Here's what I've seen work. Granted, this is not from my personal experience because I haven't built one and run one. But I'll share what I know. And I've had folks looking to join studios as founders, join studios as employees, and investors reach out and go, I want to learn a little bit more about this. This is very interesting, but this is very different.
That is fascinating. And so it sounds like you came on not with a business ROI goal. You're just like, there's this gap that nobody's talking about. Let me add value. And All of a sudden you're the go-to guy.
Yeah, they always say look for that niche. This is a niche I'd happen to be looking at for over a year. And people had kept saying, hey, if you're active on LinkedIn, it makes a huge difference. And I'm like, all right, okay, I'll finally do it. I'll see what it is, see if it works. Well, whatever. And yeah, at this point, it's going to be very difficult not to stay on the platform and be this active.
And so two things that are really fascinating when I was looking at your profile. One, there's no media. Everybody's like video, images, stuff. You're just blogging.
I'm just basically blogging. Media is going to be my next thing I'm going to start testing. I've identified maybe 5 or so posts, I think, that creating a custom image would go really well with, and creating some of that kind of content. I've seen some folks do things like LinkedIn Live. Doesn't seem to get a ton of viewers in the moment, so I don't know how well that works. I've seen a few people post videos. And the way I look at something like video especially is you might not get as much engagement, but the engagement you get is probably a lot higher quality. And especially if you are trying to sell something or offer consulting or anything like that, that probably is going to help significantly with inbound lead gen.
And you don't have any system or anything like that? Like you're doing it for fun? Like for brand building? Like what's
basically it's just brand building. Yeah.
With the end goal of?
I'd like to get into the space in a more meaningful way, but timing, where, how that's going to shape up, that's a little difficult to predict. But to give you an idea, about 2 years ago, I was looking at, should I start a venture fund, right? The Keiretsu deal flow. Hey, there's 200 due diligence deals a year with anywhere from 30 to 80 pages of due diligence behind them. That's something you can definitely leverage, right? Everybody's, when you're raising a fund, it's all about what's your deal flow. If you don't have deal flow, you're not in this game, you can't get any funding. Okay, there's deal flow. But that really didn't speak to me because I like getting my hands dirty and building stuff. And that's why studios are much more attractive, but they're also much more difficult to get off the ground.
What, do you have a day job or are you like
yes.
that? Oh, okay.
Yes.
So this is kind of like your thing of getting away from the day. Like you were just like exploring, hey, maybe I want to do this. And
it's aligned, but tangentially. So I work in innovation. And as part of that, you do need to keep a track of what's going on in the startup world. Personally, I've always been in the startup world. I've mentored there. I've advised there. So yeah, it's just the space I've always been in. This is just a different niche in that space.
Gotcha. And so it's fascinating because most people that get into content, they're like, oh my God, it's so much work.
Yeah. If I was starting from scratch and said, hey, yeah, this is the opportunity, but I didn't know anything about it already. Oh my God, that now it's at least a 40-hour-a-week effort just to do this.
Right.
For me, what I've discovered is I can sit down in a 4-hour block on Saturday or Sunday and write anywhere from 5 to 10 posts. So that really makes it a lot easier. But it's also because I know the space fairly well.
Yeah.
I know where the resources are.
Yeah.
So I can go, oh, hey, like I know, for example, one that I'll be writing up soon. People want to know what are the ways you can organize a studio, legal structure wise, what are the impacts of that? And on the investor side, there's a lot of questions around what are the investment vehicles like? What are the impacts? Which one should I look at? Okay, I know what a lot of these are. Let me go break some of these down, but add a little bit more frame of reference. So it's not a big lift, but that's because I already know the space well.
So what you're saying is, which is I love, is you're an expert. Like you are an expert, you know your shit. Whereas most people, when they come in, they're like, oh, I need to be like.
Right. Yeah, I get to leverage a lot of stuff I already know. I haven't done it myself. Right. So that's where I'm fully transparent on this stuff. Like, hey, I haven't operated this. Here's how I might approach it. Sure, I can talk about that. Actually, there was a LinkedIn post thread today where somebody asked me, how would I pitch a studio to a founding team? It's like, first of all, I'd say, why don't you go try to build it yourself? Here's how you can, because this option is not right for everybody. And there's a couple of reasons to do that. In this case, it's like, are you really entrepreneurial? Do you have that internal drive? What are your motivating factors? And if I can push you away from something and you still go towards it, then you might be a much better fit. You might not. Like that goes to do you have that entrepreneurial drive? Are you right for being an entrepreneur in the first place? But then, okay, here's what the studio brings. And for some people, it is fantastic and it really helps. And surprisingly, that can even be the very experienced founder that has had successful exits, because the early days of a startup are incredibly difficult and you don't have a lot of people to work with. So by leveraging a team that has a process, suddenly this goes from a 10, 12, 14 hour a day, 7 days a week job to, hey, I can have a little bit of work-life balance.
Yeah.
And that is worth it for a lot of people. And not only do you get some of that balance, you can move a lot faster.
Yeah. Teaming up with expertise, it's like you skip all the mistakes that they've done.
And even if you are the expert, you're just one expert. Maybe there's 2 people on the team. That's a lot of work and not a lot of people to do it.
So it sounds like you went from, hey, let me just give it a try, write 5 blog posts on a Sunday, post them daily, and then the comments and the impression came in and you started actually reading what people were saying. And now you're basing your future content based on, oh, it seems like there's a gap here, people want to know this, and you're kind of using that to...
For sure. And tracking that is actually not easy. LinkedIn does not have a lot of the tools to enable that.
LinkedIn drives me nuts. I'm like,
God.
you are for business people, which means they're working, they have a job. Why are you making it so difficult to use your platform?
Oh yeah. No, like before I even started writing, like one of my biggest pet peeves was there's so much great content and they've got that nice save bookmark feature. But when you go to try to find it, it's okay, here's the last 10 you bookmarked. Where's the next? Okay, so you got to scroll down. By the way, you can't search. Okay, this defeats the purpose completely. Just don't let me bookmark because this is broken.
Yeah.
And like, I can't search comments. I can't search comment threads. Because, hey, I know there was some good stuff there. And anybody who starts posting a lot on LinkedIn, their DMs just fill up. And again, filtering there becomes very difficult. So yeah, it's
really not. Yeah, yeah, you got to move people somewhere else because it's run by Microsoft, right? You guys running offices and stuff.
It is. And LinkedIn historically has been very reluctant to give people deeper access to any of their APIs and data sets. So it's hard to build some of the automations into the platform.
Dude, I had a amazing profile with live and all that stuff. Amazing for years, like yours probably. And I used an API and they banned it. Yeah. And I was like, okay, so you open your API, you let other companies use it, and now you ban people because they use the API.
Yeah, no, there's so many little things I want to fix because the platform is for B2B the place to be. I'm trying to connect with venture investors, limited partners, family offices, sophisticated folks, and then, of course, the other side of the spectrum, folks that might want to either go do a studio, join a studio, become a co-founder in a studio. Okay, they're going to be on 2 places primarily, LinkedIn and Twitter. I've never figured out Twitter. Eventually, I might.
You know what you can do? So you're following Hermosi, right? Mm-hmm. He uses Twitter for idea generation, right?
Okay, yeah.
So basically just, oh, I have an idea and it's like a 2-liner and then seeing what people are responding to. And then it's like, oh, okay, let me do that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the downside for me on Twitter is I had a business account there for the startup I did many years ago. I hadn't really used it. Somebody else signed up using my email address. So I got all the, hey, log into your account. So that thing had been sitting there dormant for 7 years. I hadn't used it. So I have no followers. So I've got to build it up from scratch.
If you ever want to, I think it's not that difficult, but it sounds like you're getting all your stuff from LinkedIn. And
LinkedIn is pretty powerful for me so far. And there's VCs especially are very active on Twitter. So I probably will spend more time there, but there's a learning curve. It's a different audience, a different style of interacting. It's a different platform. So
how much time do you have for this?
Exactly. Like, I got to pick my battles right now until I can figure out how to fully streamline LinkedIn. That's enough.
When you say streamline, what do you mean?
Writing the articles, not that bad. The comments can take a lot of time in managing those interactions, and then the direct messages that come in as well. So staying active on one platform is probably good enough.
Yeah.
The learning curve on any platform can be fairly steep.
Yeah.
I'm having enough success here. Let me figure this one out. I still got some things to try. I haven't done any images in post. I haven't done any videos. Let's see what works.
And so when the comment that you left on Hermosis was like, time to 5 to 10x this thing. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, that was really, I'd been on LinkedIn for a long time. I didn't interact. I just stare.
Yeah.
And then I started commenting, but going from commenting and liking and sharing stuff to posting, just a complete game. It was total night and day. And like the biggest example for me is you go from, hey, I want to connect to these people are connecting to me. Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Fantastic. I've had probably 100, 150, 200 new inbound requests every week. So I'll take that, right? Now, some of them are not the right people that I really want to build that community with, but most of them are.
That's super cool.
So, yeah.
So now you're spending 4 hours on a Sunday writing this stuff, 10 minutes a day posting it.
No, now that's automated.
Oh, you did? Okay. Hallelujah.
Yeah. Goes out every day, 7:47 a.m. It's all set up. I got posts already in there through Monday right now.
Hallelujah. Makes life so much easier.
That's right.
And so now how much are you spending just commenting and interacting every day? Do you have set times or like whenever it pops?
I'm getting to that point. Yeah, I tend to try to comment for the first, say, 20 minutes after a post goes out so that if anybody interacts quickly, I can be there, jump on and help that spread a little bit. And then after that, it's really, do I have a little free time in between meetings, whatever else? Okay, I'll jump on. Most responses don't take a long time. I'm not doing research for any of these. This is, hey, this is what I know. Here's what I know. Some of them do take a little bit more time, and that might happen more in the evening or before that first post goes out.
And so the rumors are true. If you engage in the first hour, it blows up.
I think that keeps changing. I was talking with another guy that I met through LinkedIn, actually, that we're both doing a lot more posting now.
Is that Ryan?
No, Evaldus.
Okay, yeah.
And we were talking a week or two ago that it seems like our reach of any of our posts have almost gotten cut in half very recently. And it's not time of day. It's not interactions. LinkedIn keeps changing their algorithm and how they're approaching stuff. So that's going to be always evolving if your game is to try to maximize reach.
Right.
For me, I want to build that right network. Okay, yeah, greater reach is good only if it's going to the right people. So we'll see how LinkedIn keeps evolving their platform, because I know they're putting a lot more work into building tools for creators. And I've seen some posts on LinkedIn of what's coming. And I think that's going to be a really big change if it gets rolled out the way it was shown. Because when you go to somebody who has the creator mode on, you go to their profile, you're not going to see their work experience.
Oh.
Not first. There's now going to be a tab. The first tab that will be active and open is what's their recent content. The next tab is their work experience. And then in the content, you can select between just posts, images, videos, and all the other content types. So I'm pretty sure that LinkedIn is going to drastically change their algorithm once they've put this out. And they might be doing a little testing right now.
Interesting. And so you think they want to compete with the video platforms and kind of, because the video gets you more time spent on site and it's okay sitting here watching it?
I don't know. I don't think LinkedIn is necessarily the right platform for a lot of video. And if you're going to do video, I think for it to be successful on LinkedIn, subtitles are essential. Yeah. Because a lot of people are going to be browsing it in areas where they don't want to play the sound.
That makes sense.
So yeah, it's a different audience, different beast, and it's a different situation when people are using LinkedIn. They're usually there for a purpose. They might not have a specific purpose in mind, but they're on LinkedIn because it's about business.
Yeah.
In some way. And so automatically, when you have that hat on, you're looking at things a little differently.
Right. That is fascinating. So, okay. So this is pretty cool. So you managed to use this platform to build a personal brand, honestly, from scratch, become that best known in that niche, because now people are coming to you for that information and that knowledge, and zero ads,
zero ads. Yeah.
No VA, managed to do it with 10 before you were automatically posting 10 minutes a day, honestly.
And every post I write myself. I use a couple of tools to help find inspiration. but I write all. I tried to outsource that a little bit to see what kind of quality came back. And I'm like, okay, so one post, I did 3 or 4 posts in this style of, here's a successful unicorn founder that started older, right? This is not as usual. It's not the common story told. So I'm like, here's how they started. Here's what this is. This should be a replicatable format. Maybe I can have somebody else write it.
No.
Maybe, but I'm going to have to find that right person first. So right now the answer is no. Have a high quality bar, and no.
And you have a very unique style of writing. You just blob it. You're not formal. You're very.
Think of it as, how do I talk? I'm going to try to write that. What you on LinkedIn, depending on what we're talking about, is what you're going to see from me personally, right? I can go really deep on some technical topics, and the language is going to shift and a few things like that, or stay a little bit more inspirational and break things down. And I've definitely tried a few different posts and writing styles a little bit. One recommendation you see a lot is basically 1 sentence per line, maybe 2 if they're really short sentences. So I've done that on some posts. On other ones where it makes more sense to block information and points together, I stuck more into the paragraph mode with breaking them up with more white space in between when you can. Some of it is just seeing what works.
Did you find anything that works, or they're all the same?
Oh, it's really hard to tell, because like halfway through, the LinkedIn algorithm seemed to shift for lots of people, not just me. And there's so many little analytics I'd love to get. For example, how many people are liking a post but don't interact with it? Not just one post, but consistently like my content, but don't interact in any. That's interesting. Who are these people? Maybe I can go look at their profile and find out what they're interested in. I can even reach out to them. But I can't do that unless I do it very manually. Like every post, open it up, start scrolling through, clicking on people's.
I have a solution for you.